right? Because this is exactly the same thing as the Chinese have built, because this starts somewhere there and goes down and down and down and down to well below ground. So this was a launch site to which Gilgamesh went around 5,000 years ago in order to be lofted to the planet of the gods, NIBIRU. But he failed. There's a whole tale that he had a companion and they killed the sacred bull, the bull of heaven, and had to escape for their lives, so it didn't work. So he didn't give up, he went to the other destination, which, if you recall a previous slide, was the spaceport in the Sinai Peninsula. And what was there we also know, because the Egyptian has depicted it, and this is a depiction found in the tomb of an Egyptian called Huri, who was the governor in ancient times of the Sinai Peninsula, and in his tomb the burial chamber is surrounded on the walls with depictions of scenes from the lands where he was an official. And this is from the Sinai, and I think you can see that this is an underground silo, because you see the ground level with trees and giraffes, etc., and you see it multi-stage rocket ship and the command module sticking out from above ground. So this is what existed in the Sinai Peninsula. We go forward. Right. And again, like in the Sumerian tales, there are Egyptian texts, the collection is called the Book of the Dead, because the Egyptian pharaohs claimed that they have, by being a pharaoh, they were divine, semi-divine demigods, and had the right after they died in an afterlife to join the gods in an afterlife. So after they died, according to the Book of the Dead, they went on a simulated journey to the spaceport, to where the spacecraft or rocket ships are, and then to be taken aloft. And the Book of the Dead has many illustrations. This is just one of them. And it shows the 4 pilots that welcomed him aboard the spacecraft, one of the pharaohs. So there's no doubt that there too the facility for being taken aloft did exist. However, it does not exist anymore. Baalbek still exists in ruins, but the spaceport in the Sinai does not exist because in one of the next wars between the various clans of the Anunnaki, the Enlilites, the Enkiites, Ninurta, Marduk, etc., they resorted to the use of nuclear weapons. And the spaceport in the Sinai was a target. And you can see to this day 2 things. One is you can see the immense cavity to this day from space. This is a NASA photograph, and the crack in the peninsula is a result. And if you go there, which I did by myself and with a group, if you go there, you find in that particular spot, you find in the middle of pure white limestone mountains. Everything is pure white. You see a huge field with broken, burned, and totally blackened rocks. And one of the visits I took samples, they were tested, there's possibly some radioactivity, but it's inconclusive. But in 2024, almost 4,000 years ago, the Anunnaki resorted to the use of nuclear weapons. There is a long text called the Era describes the reasons, who did it, how they did it, what the number of nuclear weapons that were used in 2024. The unintended consequence of that was that a wind blowing from the Mediterranean brought what they called in those texts, they're called lamentation texts, they call the evil wind that brought death to everything alive in Sumer. As the nuclear wind passed, reaching from the Sinai to Sumer, it did not destroy anything. The lamentation text lament that the stalls stand, but the animals that were there are all dead. The houses stand, but everybody who lived in the houses lies dead in the streets, on the roofs, etc. And that was the end of the great Sumerian civilization about 2024 BC. And in that one, unlike in the previous wars, where Ninurta, the son of Enlil, was the victor, Marduk, the son of Enki, was the victor, and that was the beginning of the rise of Babylon. Instead of Sumerian and Enlil and all the others, it was now the era and the time of Marduk and the Babylonians. Now we are starting to live ancient history, and we are starting, or I'm starting, to take you by the hand and lead you not only to the present but also to the future, and to understand where history is taking us. This map is the key to it, and please try to remember it. If you recall the layout of the landing corridor from Mount Ararat this way, and Jerusalem as Mission Control Center, the spaceport, the Giza pyramids, and the place in Lebanon called Baalbek today. These are the four space-related sites that if you keep them in mind, you understand what happened afterwards, what happened in recent times, and what the present conflict is all about. When the dust, let's use that expression, the dust of the nuclear explosion and the demise of Sumer settled, several hundred years later, when perhaps passage was possible again after the use of nuclear weapons here, a major event took place. It is called the Exodus of the Israelites from Egypt. And the Bible says that after about 400 years, God remembered. He said, oh, by the way, I forgot all about this people. And there was this guy, Abraham, and I promised him a certain land, the promised land. I made a covenant with him. And then I forgot all about it. But now it's time to fulfill my promises. And the Israelites left Egypt, and I didn't write it yet in any of my books, but I can tell you now that if I ever do, I will tell you that the starting point of the Exodus was the Sphinx, because the Sphinx gazes precisely along the 30th parallel towards the spaceport. There was, of course, no more spaceport there, but the mountains remained, and the mountain which held the various facilities was there, and the Bible calls it Mount Sinai, the mount in the Sinai Peninsula, Har Elohim, the mountain of the gods, of the Anunnaki. So they were sent here on this Exodus to resume the relationship, the commandment ingredients, etc., etc., which required for them to proceed to accept all the moral teachings of the Sumerians. I think in my very first book, The 12th Planet, when I talk about the Sumerian locals, I say everybody, most people know about all the ancient locals, Hammurabi, the Babylonian king. His local, which is on a stone block in the Louvre in Paris, is a code of crime and punishment. It says, if you did this, that's your punishment. The Sumerian locals, and there's one, for example, by a king 1,000 years before Hammurabi, 1,400 years before Hammurabi. It was a law code of justice that said you shall not take away the donkey of a widow. You shall not delay the wages of a day laborer. Those were the Sumerian law codes. So these were the Sumerian commandments, the Sumerian moral laws that had to be reaccepted, renegotiated at Mount Sinai. And once they were, they had to continue. There was difficulty in going straight. They went around, but anyway, finally they got to Jerusalem. And what did they do once they got to Jerusalem? They built the temple to Yahweh on a platform that existed there. And if you have not done it yet, I urge you to go to Jerusalem, because along the western wall, this of course doesn't exist anymore. This is now replaced by a Muslim structure. Along this western wall, just as along the western wall in Baalbek, in the landing place of Gilgamesh. And this is an aerial photograph. This is the area that's called the Temple Mount. And this is where the temple stood, and the Holy of Holies, and the Ark of the Covenant. Interestingly enough, that I noticed when I was there and when looking there are trees everywhere, but not here. Nothing grows here. So this is the western wall, and an opening was made along the western wall after being blocked for thousands of years. And what was discovered there is mind-boggling, because in the same place, the western wall, as in the landing place for Gilgamesh went, there is a trilithon, not of 1,100,000 tons, but only 600 or 700 tons, 3 immense stone blocks lying one next to the other, just as there, and somewhere there, somewhere there is a sign that says that this is exactly where a tunnel leads to the Holy of Holies on above the platform. And this is another shot of the trilithon in Jerusalem. Now when Yahweh, the God of the Bible, commanded David and then Solomon to build a temple exactly on a pre-existing platform. This is what he said. These are exact words in translation. And I cannot read from this angle. Will anybody read out loud, please?
Thus has said the Lord Yahweh, Jerusalem, in the midst of the nations I placed her, and all the lands are in a circle round about her.
Well, in the midst of the nations, in the center of the circles, that could not be more explicit that this is the layout of the Mission Control Center. Now, at about the time that the Hebrews, the Israelites, were restoring the platform in Jerusalem, other things were happening in the adjoining countries, especially those countries that followed Babylonian one. In Babylonia, on cylinder seals, the sign of the cross began to appear. In Assyria, the kings began to wear the sign of the cross on their chest. The same happened in Egypt. Now these are all from around 1000 BC, 900 BC, 800 BC, 700